Part two of our ZIPS projection reaction. Dan Zimborski of Fangraphs put out his annual ZIPS projections, and we went through each blog post and noted the notable projections. So you can kind of wait until they're all consolidated into one sortable spreadsheet on Fangraphs because they're not there yet. Jack, Peter, Just Baseball Show. This is Wednesday, January 24th. We're going to do the ZIPS projections for the American League. We're also going to talk about Aroldis Chapman off the top. But as always, Peter Apple.
We are brought to you by the king of sportsbooks, and that is BetMGM. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Just Baseball Show, I understand if during the season you don't want to deposit and get it matched, right? You don't want to put that much money in. I get it. I've been there before. There's no worries about that. But 5 to win 158, you put down a Lincoln, use code JustBaseball, you put down $5, and you get back $158 in bonus bets. I was in Arizona this past weekend for a bachelor party, and I have 3 friends who don't really bet, right? They're in California. The books are not legal there. They come over to Arizona. They put $5 in, $158 in bonus bets, and they were winning a bunch of money that was just free given to them. This is when you take advantage of when the books are giving you money. I wrote an article like 2 years ago. Take the bonuses, like take the free money that the books are going to give you. They don't do this often. So take advantage right now. Use code JustBaseball. Put down a single Lincoln, a $5 bill. You will get back $158 in bonus bets. The only reason I'm saying get it now is because it's genuinely advantageous for you to get free money in the account. You can use it however you please, but the great thing is you won't lose it. They're bonus bets. Make sure to use that on BetMGM.
Yes. I know that you are eyeing some MLB team futures. I know that there is, what you said, biggest bet of your life is going to come this year?
I put out the biggest bet of my life already to my subscribers, and it will be out on justbaseball.com next week. I'm very, very excited.
Okay.
To say
Good
it
to know.
lightly. I am titillated just thinking about it.
Is it going to make me scratch my head like the Aroldis Chapman signing?
We should talk about the Aroldis Chapman signing because 10.5 million is, I did not put 10.5 million on this bet. So I think it's, higher value.
It's like I'm walking into therapy with you again. I know that you constantly tell me never to undervalue the price of a pitcher in this market.
Let's
They're
do it
always
again.
going to go for more. But dude,
Yep.
$10.5 million. As soon as that happened, and I saw that Jason Mackey, the Post Gazette, tweeted out that it was a $10.5 million deal across 1 year. I just tweeted 10.5 M with 3 or 4 question marks. Are you kidding me? This guy was like not that good for the Rangers down the stretch. Obviously, he was great pre-trade, and that is what net Kansas City Reagans in that Rangers deal. But they gave him opportunities to close out games, and he wasn't good at it. He had an ERA in the high 3s with Texas. So how does a 1 year, $3 million deal, pretty much $3.5 million deal, net him a $7 million increase across a 1 year deal? He's a year older, and he wasn't a sub 2 with 18 Ks per 9 with Texas. He was fine, but he wasn't $10.5 million fine. It blew my mind seeing that number.
The 7th inning guy for the Houston Astros, Hector Neris, is looking to secure a 3-year, $50 million deal. That's the market. Welcome to 2024 Major League Baseball.
Who you giving the ball to first, Neris or Chapman?
I don't know.
Really?
I'd probably give it to Neris. Here's my one thing about Aroldis Chapman, and I've said it for years. When he's 102, 103, when he's got it that day, he looks like the greatest reliever alive. There was a time where he first came over after the trade deadline. I think it was like in mid to late August. I was watching a Rangers game late at night. It was on the West Coast. And he sat down 1, 2, 3. It wasn't an immaculate inning, but I think it was like 11 pitches where he was 102 at the bottom of the zone, top of the zone, and then just biting off that incredible slider. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, this guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is some of the best stuff I've ever seen in my life. Then the next day, Jack, I was watching another Rangers game. He's 97. He gave up 3 earned. I was just like, what is going on with you? Because he can look like the greatest of all time or legitimately the worst of all time. But we know that one win above replacement, if we look at WAR, has gone up in value. It used to be about 7 or 8 million. New quotes have it around 8 or 9. He put up 1.8 F4 last year. So if you think he can put up a 1-win season as a reliever, that's worth 8. And if you think it's going to be closer to 1.5, that's worth 11 or 12. It's just, Jack, do I need to remind you? Yamamoto has not pitched a game in Major League Baseball and
And he
just
got
made
325.
325 million.
Yeah, but that's a guy that can throw 190 innings and have an ERA in the low threes.
It's also 32x what Chapman just signed for. And he's never pitched here.
I'm not talking length right now. Yamamoto is
I
a
know.
decade younger than Chapman.
You also got to think about the Pirates are going to sell a lot of Chapman jerseys. It's going to get people.
No, they're
hard.
not.
I bet they
How
are.
are they going to sell Chapman jerseys?
Have you been looking at the comment sections about this deal from Pirates fans?
Can we?
They're extremely
No.
excited.
Hold on. How many Royals Chapman jerseys do you think they sold last year?
I bet they sold a good amount. I bet you.
I bet they sold like none.
Also, he lasted like 3 months, and that's the point of this contract, right? We're going to talk about who is he going to get traded for next, because Chapman at this point has a trade Rolodex on his resume. We got Gleyber Torres in that trade with the Cubs and the Yankees, where Gleyber went back to New York, and then the Yankees then re-signed Chapman, but the Cubs got a World Series out of it, so they ain't worried about it. How about Cole Reagans, right? So the Pirates pay you $10.5 million. At least at the start of the season, right? You expect Aroldis Chapman to have his arm ready to go, probably have a good front half, and then you trade him for another prospect, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, Pirates fans were in my comment section being like, Peter, come on. You think he's just a flippable asset? If the Pirates made more moves, if they made corresponding acquisitions, no. But this is the only move the Pirates really have made all offseason. Yes, it's a flippable
8
asset.
mil for Martin Perez.
He's way worse than Chapman. I mean, he might not last the year.
One more thing that I do want to push back on a little bit, the financial value of WAR. And I just had a good conversation with our guy Taylor Davis about that on Show and Go, which is kind of getting revamped for this year. But I disagree that there should be a dollar amount attached to a win above replacement. I don't like the idea of valuing WAR financially because, and the example that I used, a win above replacement for Pete Alonso and a win above replacement for Nico Horner could not look more different.
Yeah, it's hard to equate value to one certain number. I totally agree with you. But again, he didn't get paid like the 1.8 F4 guy that he was. He didn't get paid like that. He got paid less. So it's not an
Financially, by that
science.
financial model.
Yeah, it's not an exact science, but it's a good gauge to be, all right, well, if that's what it's worth, if one win above replacement is around $9 million, you still got paid less, but it's understandable. It's the best we got. We're just trying.
Yeah. So Kimbrel signed for what, 13 mil with the Orioles? And
I'd rather have Chapman. Would I?
No,
I don't want either of them.
I
don't
would rather
want
have
either of
Kimbrel.
them.
What I will say is, okay, that's the price for a ninth inning or eighth inning guy, because Kimbrel and Yennier Cano are probably going to split the ninth inning. When is Chapman getting the ninth inning?
Never. It's Bednar's.
When is Chapman getting the eighth inning? 50% of the time?
He probably gets the eighth now just because of name value, but I would rather have Cole and Holderman. I understand where you're coming from. I would legit rather have Holderman in the eighth than him.
And Majinski looked nasty last year, too. The sweeper is gross. So you're telling me that by the deadline, if this guy's not performing to his 80th percentile outcome, he's going to be throwing the seventh inning, and you're paying $10.5 million for a seventh inning guy?
It must have been the market for him. They must view him
It was
as
just
a
the
guy.
market.
They must view him as a guy who is a first half performer when his arm is going well, and that's what they're going to flip him for. That's I agree with you though. I saw 10.5, but I'm so numb to it, Jack. I can't believe you're not numb to it anymore.
I was, and then it turns out I wasn't numb enough.
I am completely numb. He could have gotten 20. I'd be like, yeah, probably somehow, even though I do not agree with it. I'm telling you, the flipping point when Taijuan Walker and Jameson Tan got 80 million, I was like, I'm done doing contract predictions. I'm just going to blow every prediction out of the water. I was low on Yamamoto. Arm thought I had 4 eyes. I said like 320 million, got 325. And I was trying to go high as like a gag on purpose. That's where we're at.
So the other wrinkle to this is, if I'm not mistaken, McCutcheon was the guy in the batter's box when Chapman hit 105.1, and it nearly domed him.
Yeah. Was it
I
105.9?
10 no, I thought it was 105.1. I think that's the fastest recorded pitch.
YouTube comments have been great at fact checking. I've been reading. We read all the YouTube comments, ladies and gentlemen. What was it? Don't look it up, Jack. I want the YouTube comments to deliver it. Was
Yeah, no,
I
you're
closer
good.
at 105.9 or was Jack closer at 105.1? Drop it in the YouTube comments below.
I
And also
think it
subscribe.
is.
Subscribe.
Sure.
I
Do
mean,
that too.
yeah.
I think it is 105.1, and he
You looked
looked
it up, didn't you? You
inside.
dirty
No,
dog.
no, no.
Okay,
I did
good.
not.
Good.
But I'm watching this YouTube video of McCutcheon getting hit with 101, like in the high shoulder neck region from Aroldis Chapman. And I just, obviously, you can point to intent or entirely unintentional from Chapman. Regardless, that's going to leave a mental scar on McCutcheon. And I just wonder how that clubhouse dynamic is going to go.
I have so much respect for these guys just getting hit with whatever miles an hour. Like I was at the bachelor party this weekend. We were playing wiffle ball. Probably got hit in like the arm with a 40-mile-an-hour wiffle ball. I think I'm still nursing it. So the fact
Did you
that they're getting
welt?
hit. Yeah, I got a welt. I think I got it. Do you see it? See
That's
that?
a bruise.
Yeah,
That's not a welt. That's a
yeah.
bruise.
The bruise. I'm bruised up right now. I'm kind of feeling like an athlete. I was
From a
showing
wiffle
out.
ball?
I was showing out in wiffle ball.
You didn't pop a shoulder? That's my thing. My right shoulder is always screwed when I
Yeah,
try swinging.
I was throwing innings. My elbow's a little sore, but we'll make it through. I'm tough. I'm a tough guy. I
Noted.
got a bruise. I got an elbow injury. Props to
Gotcha.
me. Yeah.
I recently followed Bevo on Instagram too. Talk about a
Bevo?
tough guy. You know Bevo, the guy with the buck teeth that doesn't chew his food? You know who I'm talking about?
No.
You've never seen these videos?
What
It's a guy
channel of
that,
the internet are you on?
a fun one. I
Yeah,
love
fun
Bevo.
one.
But it's this guy will like take a bite of food and chew like once or twice and then just gulp it down, and people are obsessed and they hate him. All the comments are like, this guy sucks because he eats on camera and he doesn't chew much.
The internet is undefeated. There's just such horrible people in comment section. That's why I'm so happy for our YouTube comment sections. All they're doing is fact checking, but it's like good. It's about baseball. They're just like ripping us to shreds on looks or, whatever. Love our YouTube people.
You were called, I mean, you had some disparaging comps physically, and then I was called a young Papa John. What have you been called?
Young Papa John is so
Someone
good.
called me a young Papa John, and then I hear the Nick 30 thing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, people just call me, I don't even want to talk about it on the podcast, but people call me like slow versions of a lot of NFL quarterbacks.
Oh,
Kind of white. Like,
that's not nice.
yeah, like slow Josh Allen, slow Matt Stafford. Like, I get it, okay? I have a pretty generic white guy face, but you're just calling me the slower versions of them, which is like kind of a compliment, but like
No,
not
it's
at
not.
all.
No, it's not.
Like you
It's
kind of
very
look like
mean.
them if they got punched in the face.
Oh,
It's not, whatever. Let's talk about
that's not
Zips.
nice. If you guys can think of something as creative as young Papa John, I'm totally open to hearing
Young
it.
Papa John is incredible.
It's hilarious.
It's incredible.
40 pizzas in 30 days, man. I want to reread the MLB.com glossary definition of Zips projections, just like I did to open up the National League episode, because I think it provides good context. Zips is a system of player projections developed by Fangraph's Dan Szymborski when he was at Baseball Think Factory. According to a Q&A on the Baseball Think Factory website, Zips uses growth and decline curves based on player type to find trends. It then factors those trends into the past performance of those players to come up with projections. The system uses stats from the previous 4 years for players aged 24 to 38. It weighs more recent seasons heavier. For younger players than 24 or for players older than 38, it uses weighted statistics from only the previous 3 years. The system also factors velo, injury data, play-by-play data into its equations. Like other projection systems, ZIPS uses past performance and aging trends to develop a future projection for players. On Fangraphs, the projections are updated daily and predict each player's numbers over the course of the remainder of the season. Obviously, no one is claiming that every ZIPS prediction will come true, but it is widely regarded as one of the most accurate predictors in the industry. There are a couple others that Fangraphs has under their projections tab, like Steamer and the bats, but ZIPS is kind of the crown jewel of those projection systems. And again, none of these critiques that we're going to have on ZIPS numbers that the algorithm punches out are critiques on Dan Zimborski. What he has done is a godsend for dorks like us because we get numbers to talk about before the numbers actually happen. And that's huge for us. This is just notes from what the algorithm spits out.
No, yeah, in layman's terms, this is a bunch of nerd shit that we get to argue about. That's all it is. They're
Yes.
they're baseline numbers where we say, I think he's going to be better than that. I think he's going to be worse than that. And it's all for arguments in the offseason. And, I think it's important, right? When I'm making my bets, preseason, futures, a bunch of stuff, looking at all the different ones, seeing patterns, seeing trends and projection systems. They're all good. They all have their problems. It's just impossible to predict future success at a really high success rate because you never know what's going on off the field, right? Like we've heard plenty of players, they're struggling in the box. Why? Well, maybe it's a family thing at home or maybe it's something else. So it's impossible to perfectly predict these guys, but this is kind of the best we got, and now it's time to argue.
Let's argue. I went team by team, division by division.
Yeah,
Did you do that too?
as
And
did
I
I.
just jotted down my main takeaways.
Me too.
And you tell me if we crossed over at certain takeaways. I want to start in the AL East with Baltimore.
Cool.
Zips really likes Gunnar Henderson. 26 homers, 93 ribbies, 12 bags, and a 4.5 win player. Corbin Carroll at 4.6, Gunnar at 4.5. There are a couple other notable WAR figures that I stumbled across, but I want to start with Gunnar at 4.5 and Adley Rutschman at 4.8.
Yeah, what I noticed, I like looking at the 80th percentile and the 20th percentile and look at what a shit season from you could look like and what a pretty damn good season from you could look like. And Adley might be one of the safest players in Major League Baseball. What was his 20th percentile? Like 3-win season?
I
I mean,
think
just
so.
him stinking it up. Like JT Realmuto put up a 1.5 win season last year. Like this is Adley Rutschman sucking twice as good as JT was last year. Now JT had one of his worst seasons. It's odd even year JT, and now we're in an even year. So yeah, we're in an even year. So we should expect a much better year just based on trends. But that goes to show how good of an overall player Adley is. And of course, Gunnar. I mean, he deserves that. I think it should have been higher. 4.6 F4, 123 WRC plus in his age 21 to 22 years.
Would you put Gunnar Henderson in the same class of player as Corbin Carroll?
Yes. Wouldn't you? It depends. If he's playing shortstop all year,
If he's playing shortstop all year, yes. If he's playing third base, no. Because Carroll,
just accumulating the WAR.
well, Carroll can go 30, 50 and be a 6 win player.
The stolen bases are what kind of really separates them. But don't you think Gunnar has more power in his bat than Carroll does? But it's so
It's
crazy.
kind
Like
of the
it's
same.
yeah, it's,
They can both hit 30.
Carroll is it. It's different when you're looking at a guy like Julio Rodriguez, who's 6'4", 220. It's like he's
Right.
got everything in the tank. When Carroll's like 5'9", 180. But Carroll's got that in him. That's why we loved him so much for Rookie of the Year. That's why we love him so much moving forward. That's why we're ranking him so high, because he's so perfect on every level of the game. Great defender, great base runner, has power, bat to ball. He's a 5 tool player at its core, but he doesn't look like it.
I don't know. I guess the thing holding me back from saying that Gunnar is in the same class going into this year, I think that this guy does end up in the same class as Carroll, but Carroll had not a far better year, but he had an objectively better year than Gunnar Henderson did. They both
Gunnar
were unanimous rookie of the years.
Gunnar also started off really slow. Like his
He
second
did.
half was unbelievable, and he's still 21, 22 years old.
Right. Does Corbin Carroll have slow in his DNA? I don't know.
He's too fast. He's going to beat out these infield ground outs. But like
And he's
Gunnar
going to
has that speed
walk.
too. Yeah.
But
The
Carroll has more. Carroll has triple the bags, that kind of thing. So it's picking hair. It's what, pulling hairs. What is
splitting
it?
hairs.
Splitting hairs.
Look
It's
at
splitting
me.
hairs.
I think that's the first time I've ever corrected you on something with wordplay.
Do I need a nap? Do I need another coffee? What's going on here?
Sit
But
back
good
and let
on
me
you.
sit back and let me talk to you about Jackson Holiday for a second.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
Jackson Holiday's 80th percentile outcome 282, 373, 427 for a 122 OPS plus at 4.1 WAR. I want to make sure that people know that this is an 80th percentile outcome. This is not 100th. This is 80th. Him at 20 years old is putting up a similar season to what Gunnar did last year. Does he have that in the tank this year? Is that something? Because a 4.1 F4 at 20 kind of blew my shit out of the water. Just looking at those 80th percentile outcomes, not 100th, 80th. Does he have that in the tank right now?
Short answer is I don't know. Longer answer is Gunnar has more pop than Holiday does. Holiday can put up a crazy good number in the batting average department that nobody would expect from a 20-year-old, but that may be a bunch of singles and doubles. He doesn't have 30 homer 2024. He can't do that this year. In 2026, when he's 22 years old, yeah, surely he could do it. But as a 20-year-old, I think we're totally discounting the fact that this guy probably hasn't even finished puberty yet. It's
Look at his face.
I know, man. And hey, you saw some of the defensive struggles that he
Yeah.
had in a quick sample in the futures game. Like obviously the futures game is one game at a 140, but Gunner's probably the better defensive shortstop, all that kind of thing.
But that's how I do my prospect scouting. I go to the futures
The
game and I'm
futures game.
like, these are my guys. And I have a
Yeah.
100% success rate. You guys are, looking into other games, watching them more. It's all
Yeah.
bullshit. All I
How
need is
did
5 minutes.
how did Cade Cavalli turn out for you?
You know, we still got a
He
shot.
blew out. He blew out. You totally still do have a shot. I still have a shot with Casey Mize. You still have a shot with Cade Cavalli. It works.
It works.
I think 4 is a little drastic, but a 2.7 projected WAR 50th percentile outcome for Holiday, that would be awesome if they got 2.5, 3 wins out of this guy, if they do give him the opportunity to go. And I think they will give him the opportunity to go. An interesting one to me was Kobe Mayo at 2 flat, a 2.0 projected WAR. That's 50th percentile. I think Mayo might be better than that. Mayo could hit 25 homers this year as a 21-year-old.
Do you think he's going to get run? Where's he going to play?
I hope so. Holiday and Mayo probably can't get run this year.
Like the Orioles trade for a damn starter. You bunch of idiots. Come on.
But they
look at
wouldn't
all
move
of them.
either of those guys. They would move
I
Joey
know.
Ortiz. Best version of this assortment would probably be Kerstad at first.
Do you think, just a question for you, do you think that the Orioles could field a team this year based on all prospects who could like compete with the Nationals?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's
Because we're talking about a Basayo catching. Let's put Kerstad at first for the sake of the exercise.
Yeah.
Let's put Holiday at second, Gunner at short, Mayo at third. That would push.
well, no, you can't put Gunner
Westwood.
on this team. Can't put Gunner on this team. This would be
Okay,
like
so
Joey
let
Ortiz.
sure Joey Ortiz, and then you've got Mayo at third.
Yeah.
And the outfield would be Kowser, Judd Fabian, and Beavers, probably. Am I missing somebody?
I feel like you are missing somebody.
I don't know if I'm missing anybody.
I feel like there's another really good outfield prospect outside of Kowser.
I mean, Kerstad, but
Yeah,
I put Kerstad at first base.
True. Yeah, maybe that's who I'm thinking about. That might be right.
That offense could compete. Pitching, I don't think
Yeah,
they could
pitching,
compete,
no.
but that offense could compete. Absolutely. Pitching note for the Orioles, Dean Kramer has a lower ERA and more innings than G-Rod, which is interesting.
Yeah, what I've noticed from these projection systems is that guys who don't have a ton of major league time yet, they're really hard to project. Like that's why it's like these projection systems are never going to be perfect. Who's better, Grayson Rodriguez or Dean Kramer? I mean, did you see that man Grayson at the end of the year? There's no debate here. But with that said, I think Dean Kramer, it's like these guys who are not sexy. They don't have great stuff, but they're just like mid fours guys who throw a ton of innings. Like people just toss them to the side because they're not fun and exciting. These guys are valuable. Like Dean Kramer will prove to be, I think, valuable. I was going to say not very, but valuable to the Orioles. Just have a guy in Dean Kramer who's like, yeah, if he gives us 5 innings, 3 runs today, we probably win the game. And
Yeah.
like that is valuable, especially over a season where guys are getting hurt all the time. Like he's decent. He's fine. So I wouldn't be shocked if like Grayson struggles a little bit. Do I think it's
Yeah.
going to happen? No.
It's also time to put some preseason respect on Kyle Bradish's name, who enters year 3 of his big league career. Did you see who his near age comps were?
No. I didn't look at the pitchers.
So these Zips blogs do a really nice job of showcasing the comps, and the algorithm will spit out near age offensive or pitching comps based on success and kind of tenure experience at your age. And the comps for a 27-year-old Kyle Bradish, just turned 27, were Sonny Gray, Tim Hudson, and Justin Verlander. Pulled from Sonny, Tim Hudson, and Verlander
Those are
at that
all
young
over
of
the
an
map.
age.
That's my thing about these projection systems and why I don't really look at them for pitching. They're not good for pitching, or at least from my experience projecting them out, they're much better on the offensive side because you just have so much more data points than you do with these pitchers.
Now, let me say, Kyle Bradish, two
Like
years
those
in the
three
big
comps
leagues.
make no sense together. Tim Hudson and Justin Verlander in the same sentence.
Why? They were all really
Maybe
good when they were young.
maybe from like no, I agree, but just like they pitch completely different. Like those are two completely different
From a
pitches.
pitch mix, this is
Just
from a
talking about
production
production.
output.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's possible. Like if they're both all in the low threes, like 190 innings, yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
I mean, Bradish's second season in the big leagues after a mid fours put up a sub 3
Oh no,
in
this has nothing to do
180
with
innings.
Bradish. This has
I
nothing to do with
know
Bradish. Yeah,
it
this
has
is
to do with the
projection
algorithm
system.
spitting that out, but
Yeah,
in reality, it's hey, first 2 years you were fine, then you were great.
yeah.
And that's the comp that spit out for those guys at that age.
We talked about
Uh,
Bradish, right? His only issue was this four-seam fastball that he has basically
yes.
shelved, and now he has a bunch of other elite pitches. And the Orioles are a pitching lab at this point. Like I trust in the Orioles. I'm not trusting in them to acquire pitchers, but I am trusting them to develop them, and they've done a bang-up job here. I totally believe in Bradish.
Who are the other examples aside from Bradish? I wouldn't call him a pitching lab just yet.
Maybe not just yet, but I feel like every single time they get a bullpen arm, they're turning them around. I think for example, I think some other teams might have pushed DL Hall to be this starter, and the Orioles are like, nope, we know what he is right now. We know that he's this reliever. But yeah, I mean, they haven't had a ton of success stories yet, but I think we're all starting to see them blossom kind of all at the same time.
Got you. All right, Boston, quick for me. My only takeaway, the only projected hitters with a WAR over 2 are Devers at 3.6 and Trevor Story at 2.2. You've got Ceddanne Rafaela, Tristan Casas, and Masataka Yoshida all at 1.9. This offense might not be that good at all.
Yeah, I think the problem is that these projection systems, right, heavily favor the last couple of seasons. And the Red Sox offense over the past couple of seasons is not the reason they've been finishing in last place, but the reality is they've been 78 and 84 back-to-back years. And Trevor Story has barely played for them, right? Yoshida has 1 year under his belt. It's hard to predict young rookies. So, yeah, that's why these projection systems at times need to be taken with a grain of salt. My biggest takeaway was Trevor Story over all of them, because Trevor Story at least has enough data from Colorado, and he hasn't played a ton with the Red Sox, but there's more. Like I'm not worried about Casas or Rafaela or Yoshida as their projections, and Devers' projection is certainly gaudy for good reason. But it's Story, an 80th percentile outcome of a 3.3 F4, 20th percentile of 1.2. This is Trevor Story we're talking about here. Like when we make top 10 shortstop lists and all that kind of stuff, he ain't even being mentioned. It
I think,
I think it's just incredible how he signs this big deal and then it's just boop. It's like a sliding door.
but so much of that seemed to be injury related.
I know. But even if you're projecting over 150-ish games, 80th percentile 3.3 F4?
Yeah, I would
80th
consider that a
percentile.
good year for Story. It's
Yeah.
not like he's a bad defender.
No,
He's
but you
going to
would
get some
consider
bonus points.
you would consider it a good year, not 80th percentile. It's a great year. Like a great year for Trevor
3.3.
Story is 3.3.
At this point in his life, I'd say a great year as a 3.5 win player.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying
Yeah.
how times have changed. That's my
Yeah,
main
for
point
sure.
here. Is I just wanted to bring that up. An 80th percentile, great year for him. is a 3.3 F4.
I mean, shit, man. Like he and Baez signed the same exact deal in the same exact offseason, and look how times have changed for that guy too. So a lot can change in baseball in not too long a time.
Yeah, but
And I think
Baez doesn't
Story and Baez are the best
Baez
example.
Baez doesn't even have an excuse. He hasn't been hurt.
No, like he's
He's just bad.
offensively undisciplined. I don't want to
It,
say stupid, but he is offensively stubborn and undisciplined.
and his projections are worse than Story's are.
I think he's projected a WRC plus in the 70s. Horrible,
Horrible.
horrible, horrible, horrible.
Horrible.
The Yankees, a couple, two hitters, and they're the two big boppers. Did you see what Judge and Soto are projected at?
I wanted to talk about Soto's 20th percentile outcome.
Sure.
Soto's 20th percentile outcome is a 140 OPS plus. That last year would have been tied for 10th in Major League Baseball with Kyle Tucker. His shit year offensively. And I'm like, okay. I love Juan Soto too, but come on. He's never had a WRC plus below 140 in his entire career. His worst year was when he was 20, and he put up a 143. That's 43% better than the league average hitter when he was 20 years old with the Nationals. He is a generational, only comes around a couple of times hitter. At least that's what the projections say. And now in Yankee Stadium, the low end, he's a top 10 hitter. Like a shit year for him.
He's got a projected 20% walk rate, 19.8% walk rate, 33 homers. This is 50th percentile. 33 homers, 103 driven in, a 20% walk rate, and a 16% K rate. They're both at 5.5 WAR. 80%, both Judge and Soto have a projected WAR over 7.
No, it's pretty cool comparing them side by side. You can look at all the percentile outcomes. You see that Soto is safer, but the upside of Judge
is way more.
Way more. But we're going to get to a Houston Astros player where his upside is
it's insane. It's
insane.
I will say Judge's near age offensive comps. Appreciate him while you can. Mickey Mantle, Manny Ramirez, Jim Edmonds. That's an insane threesome.
Shout out Jim Edmonds.
Because he was an elite defensive center fielder, and Judge is proving that he's a really good defensive center fielder.
No, I know why it's there. No, I'm just saying shout out Jim Edmonds. He was that guy.
He was that guy, for sure. And now he says some weird stuff on Cardinals broadcast, but that's okay. Pitching note for the Yankees. Carlos Rodon and Nestor Cortez, identical projected ERA at 3.86 in about 105, 110 innings, which I found interesting. They are expecting bounce back for Rodon. They are expecting maybe subdued version of Nestor Cortez. They've got Marcus Stroman at a 4.04 in 140 innings. Throw innings away. If I were to tell you coming into this year that Rodon and Nestor are both in the high threes and Stroman's right at 4, are you doing backflips or are you doing front flips?
No, I think that's exactly what I think they will do. That's what I think like 50th percentile outcomes are for all of them. Like, I think they're pretty spot on there. Now, the innings, I don't know. But if you ask me, I am much more confident in a Rodon bounce back than a Nestor bounce back, personally.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I still think Rodon can be that dominant ace figure. I still think he can be in the mid threes and throw 160, 170 innings. Nestor, I have my worries, but the market has crashed on Rodon, and I don't get it. Like, when he's on, he's on.
The problem is he hasn't been on in the last 365 days.
Yeah, he had a bad year. He's injured all year. He's going to bounce back. I'm much more.
But when he was on the field, he had a 6.5 ERA. He was missed.
It wasn't a good year.
It was a year from hell for Carlos Rodon. Did you notice who ZIPS had outwarring Yandy Diaz? They were so low on Yandy Diaz. Isaac Paredes and Randy Arozarena outwarring Yandy Diaz. 80th percentile WAR for Paredes is 4.5 off of a 4.3 WAR season. 80th percentile WAR for Randy Arozarena is 4.2. 80th percentile WAR for Yandy Diaz. This has to be a miscalculation. 80th percentile WAR for Yandy Diaz, 3.8 off of a 4.7 WAR season. Where does that come from? And I looked at some of the other projection systems. Like Steamer really values Yandy Diaz. They view him as a mid to high threes player at his 50th percentile. ZIPS, for some reason, just doesn't really like him.
I think they don't like him because he's a terrible defender at a non-premium position. And I think they probably think he regresses a little bit with the bat. Because we have to remember, like Yandy Diaz in 2022 put up a 146 WRC plus with a 3.7 F4. Like if he's just that guy again and is 80th percentile, like this year from Yandy, 164 WRC plus at a 4.7 F4, that could be the best year he ever has in his career. I'd put an 80th percentile more closer to like a 4.2 win season for Yandy. So I'd be a little bit higher on Yandy because I think he's just such a clean hitter. And as long as he's not a garbage man janitor over there at first, that's where I'm at.
So you think last year was beyond wildest dreams for Yandy Diaz? Like that was 100th percentile?
I think a 4.7 WAR might be his career high when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think so too. It's crazy to me that ZIPS views that as entirely unattainable.
Yeah, it's not
Because he just did
entirely
it.
unattainable. I would take the, like, what are we saying here? Would you take the over on 3.8 next year? I probably would,
I probably would,
but not much higher.
but that's his 80th percentile.
But like we're talking about WAR here. With Yandy, it's like he can't talk about the WAR because he cannot field, and they're
It's
not
just the
gonna give him
WRC
any
plus.
points.
It's look at the offensive numbers, look at the OPS, look at
Like
the
if he
WRC
puts up a
plus.
150 WRC plus and plays trash defense, he's a 4-win player, and he's a great hitter.
No, he might be a 3-win player if he puts up a 150 and plays horrible defense.
No, he put up a 146 and put up a 3.7
Okay,
in 2022.
got you. Pitching note for Tampa before we move on to Toronto. They have Zach Eflin at a 3.38 ERA in 150 innings. To note, obviously Eflin's coming off a great year. Zips loves Eflin. He had a career best year at a 3.5. So they think he's 12 points lower than that. And that's his 50th percentile projection.
Yeah, but when you look into, I mean, Eflin's peripherals were dominant.
better than a 3.5.
3.11 expected ERA, 3.01 FIP, and 3.12 xFIP. Every single peripheral tells you he was actually better than a 3.5 and better than a 3.38. I love Eflin going forward. He has found something with the Rays. His pitch mix is disgusting. The command, he doesn't walk anybody.
Nobody.
Strikes out almost 10 per 9. Puts the ball on the ground. I mean, no wonder the Rays trade Glass now. I mean,
They've got
someone off the street.
They've got Aaron Savali.
They got like the 7th inning guy swingman from the Phillies from a couple of years ago and then turned him into a legitimate ace caliber pitcher. Can't call him an ace yet. Hasn't proved it long enough. But the talent and the numbers from last year would tell you that was ace caliber.
He's no Danny Duffy yet, man. All right, Toronto to wrap. And then we go to the AL Central and AL West. Do you see what they have your guy Vladdy at?
Yeah, too high.
31 homers, 100 driven in, a 134 OPS plus, and a 3-win player, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You might be the only guy in baseball media, you might be the only baseball fan that is low on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming into 2024.
Prove it to me. And it's so funny because Blue Jays fans have now, like I see them in, my comments and stuff. It's like, now I hate the Blue Jays. I don't hate the Blue Jays.
You hate Vladdy. You hate Vladdy because he lost you money.
A lot of money. But what comes out of that, I watched Vladimir Guerrero Jr. take at-bats maybe more than any other player in Major League Baseball. I watched so many Blue Jays games, so many Vladdy at-bats. And the amount of times that this guy grounded into a double play on a fastball middle, the amount of times that he swung first pitch on a ball, his plate discipline was so bad, but he's just so freakishly talented that he can put up pretty good numbers while literally having dog shit plate discipline. Now, we've seen the reports. Everybody has. He's fixing all this stuff in the offseason. He's getting the lab. He's going to be much better. I got to believe it when I see it. Like, we are 2 years now removed. 2021 is legitimately the only great year he's ever had when pitchers had no idea what to do with him. Now they do. Like, we just keep buying into it because it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s top prospect at some point. It has to hit, right? If he does not fix these problems at the plate, and I'm Blue Jays fans, I'm looking straight in the camera. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. It was dog shit. The amount of double plays. This guy had a ground ball rate that was closer to like Luis Arias. That was closer to these speedsters. You can't have that. You just can't. He's not a good base runner. He's not a good fielder. So he has to be an elite hitter. I got to see it. He's elite, freakish talent. He is not elite in terms of plate discipline. And until I see it, I'm going to continue to be down on him.
He's going to go berserk, and he's going to prove
That's
you
what everyone's
wrong.
saying. All right, let's see it.
Yeah, count me as part of everyone.
I'm willing to be wrong. Can I say one more thing beyond Vladdy?
Sure.
Davis Schneider's 80th percentile outcome was better than George Springer's. Chicago be fired up.
50th percentile, higher WAR than George Springer and Dalton Varsho, higher OPS plus than those guys too.
Fired me up. Let's go, Davis Schneider. We like Davis Schneider. This is not a
stash.
Gag. Yeah, he can hit. He can really hit.
All right, sort these guys by ERA, lowest to highest. Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, Yusei Kikuchi, Alek Manoah.
Manoah's last.
4.48.
4.48. I'm gonna go Barrios 1, Kikuchi 2, Bassett 3.
Bassett 1 at 3.83. Barrios 2 at 4.12. Kikuchi 3 at 4.38. Manoah 4 at 4.48.
Is it 1?
Bassett 1.
I got a blind side for him because when I watch him, I don't see a good pitcher, but like,
so I don't like watching him. Yeah, like he seems like a great guy. Seems like a really nice guy. Yeah. I just don't like watching you.
No, like I don't get it. Like it's these like two seamers. He must just be impossible to pick up. Like he must do something that it's like I can't see it from the TV, but when you get in the box, he must be so weird. Because I've seen when I watch Chris Bassett he goes through the lineup and nobody can touch him. Nobody. Then I feel like you have a discussion in the dugout, be like, just wait. Just like, don't swing at any of his bullshit. And the 5th inning, it's a 3-run home run. And it's just like that. So I feel like it takes some time to adjust to his funkiness. He is better than I always think when I'm watching. That's just the bottom line.
Okay. Added wrinkle. Throw Ricky Tiedemann in that assortment. Where does he fit?
I mean, what are we talking about here? You got to be able to throw innings. Like he's getting injured all the time. Like, yeah,
not all the time. He was dealing with one big injury.
I know. It's just like I don't know what to do with him. Like the talent is crazy. He could be legitimately the number 2 next to Gausman, or legitimately never pitch in Major League Baseball. I don't know.
So Tiedemann is a projected 4.08 ERA in a little under 100
innings.
Doesn't
know. Nobody knows.
ZIPS may know.
They don't know.
We're going to jump into
he could legitimately be a 3.2 or a 5. We don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Split the difference. Call it a 4.08.
Split the difference.
All right. We're going to jump to the AL Central, then we'll wrap with the American League West. But before that, first, let's start with the Cleveland Guardians. Andres Gimenez had a 3.6 WAR last year. He was a 6-win player before that. They love Andres Gimenez. ZIPS has Andres Gimenez putting up an identical WAR to Corbin Carroll at 4.6. Do you think Andres Gimenez is a 4.5-win player?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty, like,
bold.
You know me. I'm an Andres Gimenez guy. Even when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. Shit. Whoa. Maybe I'm not the biggest Andres Gimenez guy out there. His 80th percentile outcome is his 6-win season. 6. That's not 100th. That's 80th. It's a great year. 6-win season. But again, if you take out last year, which of course matters, put up a 6.2 F4 season. I mean, this guy has it in the tank. There's a reason the Guardians gave him this type of contract. Now, do I think? Yeah, I legitimately think he's going to be a 5-win player next year. I think he's due for a big bounce back. He's too talented. I always thought he was such a good player. So, yeah, it's crazy, but it ain't that crazy. What do you think about it?
So he's obviously getting a ton of boost because he is a world-class defender. And that's going to help the WAR.
Yeah.
He's platinum glove level every year, regardless. Like he could have a 60 WRC plus,
I think he's
and
a
he's still
shortstop
world
playing
class.
second. It's like Semyon. I think they're just world class at second because they're not out of position, but they can play
Yes.
short.
So the question is, do you view this guy as a 142 WRC plus guy where he slashed what 297, 371, 466? Or do you view him as a 97 WRC plus guy? I probably view him in the 100 range, 100 to 105 range. He was 105 his rookie year, 2021, he was 76. So like it was really strong 2020 at 105 and 1.2 wins in 49 games. And then it was like not great offensively in 2021. 2022, he's awesome offensively, and that results in a 6-win season. And then this past year, he regresses offensively to just below league average, and he's a 3.5-win player. I think this guy puts up a WRC plus right around 105, and that in turn would probably push him to 4 WAR. I think he's a 4-win player. I don't know if he's a 4.5, 5-win player.
I don't think you're giving him enough credit offensively. His career WRC plus is 112. I think that's where he's going to be. I would even give him a step further. Remember, he's going to be 25 years old, right? Like he is still a young cat. I would put him in the I'd make his median next year 115 WRC plus with great defense.
That's 5 wins. That's
Yeah,
4.5, 5 wins.
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'd put that there. I think he's going to be better offensively. There's some numbers that would, point to him at least being better than that, not to the 142 WRC plus. I think that ends up being probably his best offensive season ever. But I think he settles into a career in the 110 to 120 range, some 130 years, some 98 years. And like that's kind of what he is with Gold Glove caliber defense.
So his BABIP was over 350 in the year that he went berserk, and his BABIP was under 290 last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like
It's
it
going to
was
be in the
two
middle.
extremes. It was two extremes.
So that's the thing, man. Like that's kind of why I plant him probably in the 105, 110
But I
WRC
think
plus range.
you're more putting it at the low, and I'm putting it right in the middle.
I'm a
I think
negative
you,
guy, man.
I think you just
I
hate
get
it.
it. I hate everybody. So that's my problem.
Also, I was
All
thinking
right.
it's better to be called a young Papa John than like, Jerry from Subway.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you think I look like Jared from Subway? Let's get
No,
this out of the way.
no, I don't. I'm just saying
Okay,
it's
good.
better.
In terms of fast food moguls,
Yeah.
it's better
Yeah.
for me
It's
to
better.
be Papa John, the disgraced Papa John.
Yeah.
All right. Rank these guys in order of projected ERA.
Okay.
Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, Tanner Bybee, Logan Allen, Gavin Williams.
I have a feeling they're going to be really high on Gavin. Maybe not because there's not enough data. I mean, give me Bobby 1. Give me McKenzie 2. Give me Bieber 3. Give me Gavin 4. Give me Allen 5.
Bieber 1 at 352. McKenzie 2 at 354. Bybee 3 at 381. Allen 4 at 406. Gavin Williams 5 at 412.
Pretty lame of Zips to go chalk.
That is
Like,
chalk.
I mean, come on. Like, do you believe in anything, Zips? Do
The
you
only
believe in anything?
the only thing that I viewed not necessarily chalk was having Gavin Williams below Logan Allen, although Allen was better at the major league level
Yeah,
last year than Gavin
that's what I'm
Williams
saying.
was.
You basically rank them by how good they've been at the major league level in their careers. Like,
Yeah.
congrats. Me, I believe in something. Bybee 1, McKenzie 2. And remember, this is not an indictment on Bieber. This is praising Bybee and McKenzie. I mean, these two at their peak are just shut the door type pitchers. And Gavin Williams, I mean, there are some days where he looks like Grayson. There's other days where he certainly does not. And Logan Allen's just straight up solid. That's why I'm high on the Guardians this year. They ain't my 5-unit whale, but I'm invested in them. This pitching is too good to fail. I mean, unless they all get hurt like last year. Well, what can you do?
Zips does believe in Spencer Torkelson.
As they should. Wait, one more thing about the Guardians before we move on. How about Kyle Manzardo, 138 WRC plus 80th percentile?
Yeah, that's real.
See that?
That's real, man.
That's a
Like
bat.
he's so good with the stick, and he was
Yeah.
unhealthy last year.
I'm just excited about him. I mean, remember, for Savali, this could be one of those guys where it's like, all right, Kyle Manzardo's hitting third in the Guardians lineup and like protecting J-Ram. Or maybe sitting fourth, J-Ram third, whatever. Like he's the protection. You think about Josh Naylor, think about Bo, start putting Kyle Manzardo in those conversations, is what I'm saying. That's what Zips is
Absolutely.
saying.
Naylor and Manzardo, I think, should be viewed in not should be right now because one of them doesn't have a big league plate appearance under their belt. But I do think that come June, we'll be looking at Manzardo and Josh Naylor in a very similar light,
Agreed.
almost interchangeable. Zips loves Spencer Torkelson.
Mm-hmm.
33 homers and a .8 WAR improvement from 1.4 last year up to 2.2. And the power output was there for Torque. I think Torque had 30 homers on the nose.
Yeah.
Up 33, and they think that the offensive game will just be more well-rounded to the point where that bumps him to a 2.5 win player.
How can you not believe in Spencer Torkelson? The bat's too good. He was lauded as this generational type bat coming out of ASU. Like when you're drafting a first baseman, DH type, number 1 overall, you got to really believe in the bat. The Tigers were not idiots. A lot of people thought the same thing. This guy's bat is, it's not better than Vladdy's, but like, I'm thinking about it. And everyone's going to call me nuts, but I think Spencer Torkelson has better plate discipline than he does, and he's got insane juice. Just don't be surprised when Torque has a better year than Vladdy. Just don't be surprised.
Dude.
What do you mean,
We
dude?
need that. We need to have a discussion.
Spencer Torque was drafted first overall. You like Torque, don't you?
I like Torque.
You love Torque.
He's not Vladimir Guerrero Jr., man.
We'll see.
All right, we'll see. Anything else you got on Detroit?
Oh, yeah,
I saw Tarek.
I got
Okay, I saw Tarek Skubal. They really like Tarek Skubal, as they should.
I will be betting on him to win the Cy Young. That's how much I like Tarek Skubal. Javier Baez's 80th percentile outcome is 101 WRC plus.
Again, this guy is just so stupidly stubborn. He has never, ever made an improvement in the plate discipline.
Couple of reasons why I never feel bad about always taking the opportunity to make fun of Javier Baez. Number 1, he makes more money than I think I'll ever make in 10 lifetimes. So he can just go back to his house, not worried about what I'm saying on the mic, and just collect insane amounts of cash. Number 2, he refuses to take advice in order to fix his plate discipline. Nothing. I mean, it's the 8th inning. They're down by 4. He's swinging at sliders low and away. He's up. Their Tigers are up by 4. Same thing. It's a tie game. Same thing. I mean, it's just nothing is working for him. So I don't never feel bad about making fun of him. The fact that he's owed $98 million more dollars and he's under contract till 2027. A great year as an average hitter for Javier Baez at this point. Just embarrassing. Number 2, they are way too low on Kerry Carpenter. Way too low. 80th percentile is a 2-win season for him. No shot.
No way.
Kerry Carpenter put up a 2.2 F4 last year in what? How many games did Kerry Carpenter play? Pulling it up right now.
He was hurt for a good bit. I know he made a rehab assignment.
He played 118 games last year, 20 bombs, 340 OBP, 471 slug, 121 WRC plus, 2.2 F4. His 80th percentile outcome, this is just wrong. 2 F4 is wrong. He is going to be a 3.5 win player. I think he could hit 25 to 30 jacks. That's in Detroit, in Comerica. This guy is the second best hitter on their team, or maybe third if obviously Riley Green is very good, but Riley Green's probably a more well-rounded player. But Carpenter can swing it, and he's going to hit some bombs this year.
Yeah, Carpenter, I don't think they know how to value him because he is a DH and because he was a minor league breakout. But even then, if you account for minor league data, like it was all really good in 2022. In 2021, he was fine. Like it was a 102 WRC plus in AA. So I just wonder if they're trying to discount the 2022 minor league season. And like I don't know how they can defend a 2-win season for Kerry Carpenter.
If you said that was his 50th percentile outcome, okay.
Yeah, fine.
I'm still higher on him, but that's okay. 80th percentile? No. That's just wrong. I will stand on that. I'm standing on business right now. That's wrong.
I'm in.
Yeah.
What else you got? Anything?
No, I just really wanted to make sure that Kerry Carpenter was not disrespected and that Javier Baez was disrespected even more than already so.
Noted. Bobby Witt Jr. should not be disrespected by a soul on the planet. Bobby Witt Jr., 26 homers, 97 RBIs, 35 bags, and a 4-win player. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. MJ Melendez is, by the way, projected again at 0.0 WAR, which is where he was last year.
Yeah, the all I did nothing squad. The guys who played at least like 140 games and put up a 0.0 F WAR. The people sitting at home, you and I can say that we had the same exact WAR. I don't know if that actually makes sense, but we all had 0. It was Elias Diaz, your all-star game MVP. It was I sent you
Andrew
the
Benintendi,
Andrew Benintendi,
Melendez.
MJ Melendez, and Kyber Ruiz of the Washington Nationals. The all nothing squad.
It's a unique
0.0
list.
F4. It's a unique list. It's a lot of catchers. But yeah, I really wanted to talk about MJ. I wrote that one down as well. A 20th percentile outcome is a negative 1.4 F4 guy. Like a legitimate detriment to the Royals.
It's because you can't defend.
And his 80th percentile is 1.7. Now the bat, 137 WRC plus. If he has another one of these seasons like he did last year, that's when, in the episode where we did New Year's resolutions, I was hell-bent on this is a big year to find out who your core is. What do the Royals do with MJ Melendez if he again proves he has no position and he's a 115 WRC plus guy? What do they do? Because you can't have that guy. You're not extending him. What do you do? Right? Because he's got talent. It's clear he's got juice, right? He's quick. He can play catcher, sorta.
Not really.
I know, not really. I don't know what you do. I don't know what
I
you
mean,
do.
right now they've got Nelson Velasquez slotted in as the DH. I think you need. And how much longer is Salvador Perez going to catch? So
MJ
my
was
question
supposed
is,
to be the next guy.
right, he was supposed to be the next guy. Turns out he's like not good back there. So then he goes to the outfield. And it turns out he's not good out there either. I think Nelson Velasquez can get by in a corner. You put Velasquez in left. MJ's the DH this year, but again, moving forward, you are you going to go sign a catcher? Do you have another catcher coming through the ranks? Like I don't know if who was their first round pick this year, catcher Blake Mitchell. Like Blake Mitchell's not going to be there for several years. He was a high school draftee,
And like
so
a
you
young
need.
high school draftee, right? Wasn't he 18?
I think yeah, he was 18.
17? Yeah.
I don't think he was 17. I think Aiden Miller was 17. That was the
Okay.
young guy, Philly, but. Melendez, I think you need to sign a free agent catcher next year or whenever you part ways with Sal Perez and you realize that guy just can't catch. They're willing to have him catch consistently, but you got to get that guy's glove out of the field, man. And that's where his value is. His value comes from not playing in the field.
And his value comes from the bat. He put up a 92 WRC plus last year. 92. 8% worse than league average when you cannot field. And I'm giving him 115 because I believe in the bat. What if he's at a 98, right? A little bit improvement, still below league average, and he can't field. Do you just commit to him at catcher and be like, if you can't make as a catcher because like we cannot have your bat in the lineup as a below average corner? I think you might just have to commit to him as a catcher. I don't know what they do. It's a fascinating conversation. That's all I really had for the Royals because it was like, well, Bobby's just insane. They were pretty low on Vinny P. You see that?
It's so hard because he was good for half a season and then he was hurt the entire season. Melendez last year, 126 games in the outfield, 72 in right, 58 in left. He caught 10 games. I don't know if you can do that anymore. I don't know if you can shove him in the catching spot. It feels like a Varsho thing. If Toronto said, hey, Varsho's going to catch, what are you responding to with that? It's like, does he remember how?
No, but it's also like Varsho was
a good one. He was
a defender in the outfield.
Right.
MJ is terrible in the outfield. Or at least that's what he's proven thus far.
But he's a terrible catcher.
Is he worse than Salvi? It seems like the Royals don't really care about catcher defense.
He might be worse than Salvi.
Salvi's like generationally bad.
Yes, so is
But he
MJ
has a bunch of
Melendez.
gold gloves, which shows you how much gold gloves matter.
All right. Pitching note for Kansas City. There's not a single arm under 4. Cole Reagan's your guy is projected at a 4.04 ERA. You calling BS on that or what, man?
Yeah, of course I am. Of course I am. But they don't have enough data to go off of because they have been, these come from the past couple of years where he was a reliever and he was a spot starter. And then he starts throwing 97 at the top of the zone with a bullet slider and an unhittable changeup. No, 4.04 is completely disrespectful. I'd set his line at 3.6, and he's going to be below that. But they don't have
What do
enough data, so I'm not getting on ZIPS. You haven't seen it with my eyes. You haven't
Yeah,
seen it with my eyes or
with
your
your
eyes or anyone who's
Nostradamus eyes.
watched Reagan's at the tail end of the season. 4.04, I mean, it's laughable.
Minnesota, Zips loves Pablo Lopez.
As they should.
3.5 win pitcher, 27% K rate, a mid 3 ZRA in 174 innings. Pablo's that guy, man. He's been great the last couple of years. He's 27 years old right now. He's way younger than you would expect him to be. He's an ace at this point. I do believe that he is. Oh, is there a difference
Like,
between a
what is an
1
ace?
and an ace?
Like,
That's
what
the
is an
thing.
ace? That's
Is
what
there
I'm
a
saying, yeah.
difference between a 1 and an ace? Because Lopez is a very serviceable 1. I feel great
Yeah.
about him being the 1 in my rotation.
No,
How many aces are there in Major League Baseball? I do think that he's a top 15 arm in baseball.
I think an ace is a top 10 pitcher in baseball, but there are 30 number ones.
Yeah.
So I think an ace is a top 10 pitcher. I think Pablo Lopez is a 1. Like, I think Pablo Lopez, if he is starting game 1 of the World Series for you and you're on a playoff team, you can beat anybody.
Yes.
But if it's Garrett Cole, if it's Shohei Ohtani, if it's guys like that who are just overwhelmingly can put you on their back and you only need to give me 1 run against any lineup, like, that's an ace.
So the aces in baseball are Cole, Ohtani, Wheeler, Strider, Burns, Gosman.
I know, like, okay, I'll give Strider it, but like,
Strider's there.
sure. Braves
I
fans
think
are gonna be up in arms. Nerds are gonna be up in arms, and I'm a nerd too, so that's not a slight. I just like, can I see it? 3.86 last year. I know all the peripherals are like, no, Peter, he's like a 2.5. I know. I see the same numbers that you are. But there are times like where I'm watching Spencer Strider give up a couple of bombs. I was in the park at Citizens Bank where they were all over him. Like, he is a phenomenal talent. But when you're a 2-pitch guy, like, some things can go wrong. That's all I'm saying. Everyone's just crowning him the best pitcher in baseball because of the expected numbers. I'm like, he's very good. Let's temper expectations a little bit. And me not calling him a bona fide ace yet is okay. And I know I'm going to get pushback, but I just need to see it again. And if he does it, you're right.
I'm going to call somebody. I'm going to call somebody an ace later on in the episode, and we can revisit this conversation. But yeah, I think he's probably just on the outside of acehood. He can make that leap this year, realistically.
If you want to hear who my aces are,
sure. Are they those 6?
say them again.
Cole.
Yep.
Ohtani.
Yep.
Burns.
Yep.
Wheeler.
Yep.
Gosman.
Yep.
I had one more, Strider.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
I would put Logan Webb in that conversation. He's just earned it. And that is probably the end of the list. Gallen's knocking on the door. Castillo's knocking on the door. Kirby is legitimately knocking at the door. If Steele
if Kirby's knocking on the door, then Pablo Lopez is knocking on the door too.
100% Pablo Lopez is knocking at the door. 100%.
Okay.
That's probably it. Let me do one more search. Eflin. No, I'm just kidding. No, but Pablo Lopez is 100% knocking at the door. Is Verlander still an ace?
Maybe. Hit or note for Minnesota, because we're going to revisit the ace conversation at the tail end.
I'm still giving Sandy the ace nod.
Oh yeah, sure.
And DeGrom.
Yeah. Okay.
Once a year.
So we're up to 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Hit or note for Minnesota to wrap up the NL or the AL Central. Carlos Correa is projected at a 3.8 WAR. That's after 1.1 last year. A projected 50th percentile, 117 OPS plus after a 94 OPS plus last year. They view 2023 as the worst possible outcome for Carlos Correa. And frankly, I agree with them.
Couldn't agree with them more. I put out on Twitter, who would you rather have for 2024, Gunnar or Correa? And in my opinion, I thought it was relatively close. Now you could say Gunnar is more exciting. The poll got around 3,000 votes. 87% Gunnar.
Oh my God.
Oh my God is right. And I was like, guys, what happened in the past offseason, right? He got bounced around from contracts because the guy was obviously injured, right? That was the big scuttlebutt. What's going on in the medicals? And he played hurt. But then you saw him in the playoffs hit 406. Do not forget who Carlos Correa is. And now I've been on this podcast being called a Carlos Correa hater. When people are like, he's the best shortstop in baseball. And I'm like, all right, I think he's top 4. I don't think he's the best. Now I feel like I'm now high on Carlos Correa compared to the market. And it's funny how a season can change like this. In 2021, Correa put up a 6.2 F4, a 133 WRC plus. We are 2 years removed from that. And in 2022, 4.4 F4, a 140 WRC plus. And that was a year he struggled a little bit on defense. I think he still won the Platinum Glove, I think. Guys, this is Carlos Correa. This is, and I called him MLB's Jimmy Butler in the sense of he is a playoff performer. And in the regular season, it's kind of up in the air of what he's going to do. And I know regular season certainly matters, and I know it does. But you're telling me how many players you want at the plate? Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases loaded to win the World Series over Correa. I bet it's less than 10. And I know that sounds crazy. Game on the line. He's that dude. Like, let's not forget who he is. And I've been called a hater of his. He's still, there's a reason he signed $1 billion contract. The exact conversation we had with Seager last year. Do not forget about Correa.
It's crazy because if you ask that in NBA terms, all right, run with the Jimmy Butler comment. Would you rather have Jimmy Butler or Paolo Banchero coming into this year? Banchero's awesome. Banchero's an awesome player, but awesome. Jimmy Butler, man. Jimmy Butler wasn't coming off a year where he averaged 10 points a game and was clearly playing hurt. Like, now it's easy to see if Correa does like what an average Carlos Correa does. You know, we're sitting here like, of course, we told you so. But he was just really bad last year because he was hurt.
Like, Correa and Royce Lewis dragged this Twins offense to a series against the Astros.
Yes.
Did you see the rest of their lineup? These guys
Julian provided a spark.
100%. But like, Julian provided a spark exactly as the counter.
No, Royce Lewis.
You know what I'm saying?
Royce Lewis gave them that 2-game sweep over Toronto.
These guys do not sleep on Carlos Correa. That's all moving into this year. Yeah. We cannot give up on guys so quickly. 1 year and we're done. We're going to talk about a White Sox later. I mean, some of these are so disrespectful.
Talk about the White Sox now. I didn't have any takeaways from the White Sox page.
I mean, is baseball done with Tim Anderson? 80th percentile outcome is a 102 WRC plus? What? In 2022, he had a 2-win season in 79 games. In 2021, 4.6 F-WAR. Baseball teams seem to be done with him. Hasn't signed yet for a reason. Come on. This guy is way better than that. I think. I'd rather have Tim Anderson than Javier Baez. Would you?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
And it's like
a million times
yes,
over.
Right? That made me sad.
It was such a horrible year all around for Tim Anderson.
Can we give guys one bad year, please? Like, people are done with guys after one bad year. Come on. He's not 40. He's in his low 30s. Can still
How old is he? 32?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I saw at 31.
Might be 31.
Tim Anderson started his career in 2016. He's 30 years old. I mean, he'll be 31
in June.
In season. That's why 31 was in my mind. But he's 30 right now. Come on. He's not dog water. Respect my man, Tim Anderson. Respect him.
I agree. They seem to respect Luis Robert, too. They had him a low 4 WAR?
Yeah, they're like 20th percentile outcome was like, if he just plays, he's going to be amazing.
Because he's a Gold Glove center fielder.
I know it sounds crazy. You know, I'm doing all my win total stuff. I think the White Sox number is too low. 63. It's too low.
It's a low number, but
It's too low. I know the market bottomed out last year. I mean, it could bottom out again. I mean, they haven't done anything, and like they did get John Brebbia,
yeah, I mean,
who I
would you
do
call
like.
Brebbia and Paul DeYoung and Martin Maldonado
No,
and
I know.
Eric Fetty nothing? That's something.
Eric Fetty was a KBO legend.
KBO MVP Eric Fetty.
KBO MVP Eric Fetty.
2-year, $15 million Eric Fetty.
Would you rather give the money to Eric Fetty or Aroldis Chapman?
I mean, damn. Based on the KBO, Fetty.
63 might be too low. I might have to bet the over, but like, I don't want to be watching White Sox games, like rooting for them to win all year. I'm fine watching them for their talent and their players. I don't want to be rooting for them to win.
I don't blame you.
They never
All
win.
right. We're going to take one more break. AL West when we come back. So there were two guys on the Houston Astros that I did the classic like move my glasses in and out of my face thing. Like, are you serious? This is what we're looking at. You can guess, and you're right. They're Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. Who do you want to start with, Tucker or Yordan?
Start with Tucker first because Yordan is a mountain.
It's insane. Kyle Tucker, 50th percentile, his run-of-the-mill projections. 28 homers, 102 driven in, 23 for 27 in the stolen base department. And the near age offensive comparisons of Mookie Betts, Amos Otis, who I think was playing during the 70s for Kansas City,
Yep.
and Barry Bonds, a young Bonds in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
We're not talking the 70. Yeah, we're not talking the 73 homer Barry Bonds. We're talking the guy that was 30-30 Barry Bonds. And Tucker was a homer away from a 30-30 season while leading the American League in RBIs. He's a threat to hit 300. He's a really good defensive right fielder. I've been saying it for the last year and a half, 2 years, that Kyle Tucker's a $300 million player. He's going to get $300 million at some point soon. He's 27 years old, a young 27 years old.
Yeah, and it's funny Amos Otis came up because I'm ranking expansion teams. On our next YouTube video, you're going to find that article, and I was going through all these old 70s guys, and I didn't really know much about Amos Otis, but we're talking about the late 70s Royals, and like Amos Otis legitimately put up a Kyle Tucker season in 1978. 22 bombs, 32 stolen bases. He only struck out 9.5% of the time, 11.6% walk rate. Slash 298, 380, 525, a 150 WRC plus with a 7.2 WAR. Like, don't sleep on Amos Otis. That year is extremely attainable for Kyle Tucker. 22, 25 bombs, 30 plus stolen bases, hitting 300, 150 WRC plus, playing great defense. I mean, that's a top 10 player, MVP candidate. That's what Tucker is perpetually.
Yeah, the only thing that isn't attainable is the K rate under 10%.
Yeah, that's another.
But he could have the K rate in the low 20s or maybe even right at 20.
Yeah. And that's what will dock you a little bit. And that's probably why he's a 140 WRC plus guy with a 6-win season. But Kyle Tucker's box office, and he doesn't wear batting gloves. So you grind. Yeah. I like grinders.
I mean, dude, this guy put up a 14% K rate last year.
Maybe he is more Amos Otis than we think.
Maybe.
That's a positive. But the thing is, Otis didn't do it for all that long. But I mean, he was over 100 WRC plus for like the entire 1970s.
It's near age offensive comp. So it's, hey, who did it in like their age 25 and 26 season? And it's Amos Otis, Mookie Betts, and Barry Bonds.
Pretty good.
Damn.
Pretty good company.
Now, Yordan Alvarez, who has better company. Yordan Alvarez, a projected 298, 36 homers, 109 driven in, 5.5 win season, and the near age offensive comps of Frank Thomas, Freddie Freeman, and Eddie Murray.
All famers.
He's that guy.
Oh, he's that guy.
Officially that guy, and the algorithms know that he's that guy.
He's like a Willie McCovey-esque type player, but like better bat to ball. Did you see what his 80th percentile outcome is in terms of WRC plus?
7?
No, Not a win above replacement. WRC plus.
Oh, is it 170?
194.
Yeah.
Judge was next best, 189. 5% better than Judge. 80th percentile outcome. 80th. Remember that crazy season Judge had? 63 bombs, hit 320. It was around a 200 WRC plus. And that's Jordan's 80th percentile outcome. That's what he has in the tank. Generational hitter. Next year, make a pact with yourself. Do not miss Jordan Alvarez AB. Because he was a little bit banged up last year. I took his under. I'm never doing that again. I
Yeah,
took his
you
under
should.
on home runs. It hit.
That was idiocy.
That was crazy. That was
Man.
awesome. But, I mean, this is a turn on the TV every night and just lock into his ABs kind of guy.
Yeah.
Don't miss it.
One takeaway for the Angels. They have Mike Trout at a 2.8 WAR, 50th percentile, 2.8 WAR. He has never been below 3 in a season where he's played 60 or more games. What are we do? Is the Trout decline on?
Yeah. Dude, he's hurt all the time.
Yeah,
He's
but
back.
even when he's hurt all the time, let's go back to when he's been hurt all the time.
Okay. 3.8 F4 is 80th percentile outcome. It's embarrassing.
Embarrassing for who? He played
I don't
119
know who it
games.
is embarrassing for.
He was hurt in 2022. He missed 40 games. He played 119 games. Do you know what his WAR was in 119 games?
Above 4, wasn't it?
6. We're talking about 1 year. He played 36 games in 2021 and he had a 2.2 WAR in 36 games, man.
He's different, dude. He is so different.
Yeah, we're not talking about the decline being on. We're talking about him coming off of a year from hell in 2023. And I got to see it to believe it that he's not Mike Trout anymore.
You know what? I'm so glad you put me back on the Mike Trout train because I was getting off it a little bit. I'm back.
Why?
That sold me. I don't know. I think I've been
the
the
same
media.
energy.
It's
the
the
same
fake
energy
news
as
media.
Sure. Yeah. I hate those guys. It's the same energy as docking Correa for that one bad year.
I'm in.
What are we doing? We
I'm in.
can't do the one-off bullshit. And I like that ZIPS doesn't do the one-off thing, but it seems like they're heavily accounting that he has been unavailable the last couple of years and he was unavailable and underwhelming last year. What does underwhelming look like for Mike Trout? 82 games, 3 wins, and a 134 WRC plus. He's never fallen off. He just hasn't been on the field.
He had 18 bombs last year.
18 bombs
In
in 82 games.
Yeah, so if he's, let's say he plays 150 games, that's putting him around the 30 homer mark, a little bit above. But if he's healthy for that year, it means he's feeling good, and that means he's 45. That's why he's tough to predict. Because if he plays 150 games, that means he's probably healthy. And if Mike Trout is probably healthy, he's one of the top 2, 3 still best players in the game. We forget about him.
We called this guy bad last year by his standards, right? He was bad last year. Do you know what his OPS was? Easy number to palate.
Probably 900.
860.
Yeah.
860 is bad? When did 860 become bad?
That's great. Yeah. I mean, it's Mike Trout.
It's Trout. I've got no takeaways on the pitching front. Yeah.
I have another takeaway on the hitting front from the Angels. How about Anthony Rendon's 1.4 F4, 80th percentile outcome? I mean, have you seen all these quotes come out? You see what Papelbon said on Twitter?
Yeah, we mentioned it quickly. Rendon was on a podcast and he said if there's one thing he could change about Major League Baseball, it's that there should be fewer games. There are way too many games. And I love all the chirps like, hey, you don't play him anyways. Who cares?
I can't believe he came out and said that. Among all players, you're the guy who signed a 7-year, $245 million contract and keeps getting docked by everybody because you don't play. And you're the guy saying that there should be less games. Papelbon came out and said on Twitter, this guy hates baseball. And I'm not really on the same page as Jonathan Papelbon on most things. But I read that and I was like, I get that. I mean, you cannot be the guy to come out and say that. Rendon, like, even if you have to lie to people, you seriously going to say that? I hate guys like that. How can you not love this game? How can you not? That irks me. That's my least favorite part. Like the guys who pretend to like not like baseball and they think it's funny. Fuck you. I hate
No,
that.
he might honestly not like baseball. He might be
Yeah.
doing it for the check.
Pisses me off because there's so many good players in the minor leagues going for chances who are obsessed with the game, who
Guess
are
what?
going to get a shot because your fucking ass is just.
You- Guess what? They've all gotten shots because he's not available.
Yeah, it's true. They're still getting their shot.
He's doing a good thing for minor leaguers.
I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
they're all getting their shot because he's just not on the fucking field.
That's true. The Angels are going through a third baseman every week.
Right. There were David McKinnon. They ran out
Yeah.
Nathan McKinnon. No, Nathan is the hockey player.
Nathan is the
David
hockey
McKinnon.
player. Yeah.
Yeah, David is the one that kind of looked like a Walmart Thor that
Yeah.
they ran out for 40 games. Andrew Velasquez they ran out.
Put Trey Cabbage over there at third.
Okay.
Fuck it.
I think he's a left-handed defender. I'm
No, I
not
think
sure. I'm not
I
sure.
think he's a
I know
left-handed
he's a
first
lefty with his stick. Oh man. All right, Oakland. Couple that jumped out to me. Brent Rooker at 27 homers after a 30 homer year. They don't think that's much of a fluke, which I find interesting.
Me too. I thought that was interesting. Like I could see it. I looked more into the data and I was like, okay.
I would
think it's too high,
expect
but
fewer. Yeah, I would expect 20.
yeah,
But hey, all right.
he just strikes out an ungodly amount.
Yeah. Esterio Ruiz, they expect him to get on base enough for 53 bags. He had 67 last year, so might be a fair assumption. But who's the top WAR getter?
Elof, man.
Zach Geloff.
Dude, I mean, people were up in arms about MLB's top 10 second baseman list not having Ozzy Albies and having Zach Geloff on there instead. And I agree with the people.
It's stupid.
That
Yeah, it's so
Ozzy
stupid.
Albies, in my personal opinion, is top 5, right? No doubt about it. Rays fans, my back on your side. Ozzy Albies is that dude. But Geloff, in a very small sample, was legitimately one of the best players in the American League if you just look at that sample alone. However, you cannot look at that sample alone, and that's what we have ZIPS for. So they have him for a 3.3 F-WAR, his 80th percentile outcome. He put up a 2.9 in 69 games last year. That makes sense to me. Like MLB went off their wagon. Sometimes I think, legitimately, they just put that out there for engagement.
Like, embrace debate.
Embrace debate. Like, yeah, we didn't have Ozzy Albies. We wanted you to comment more. Because they're asinine rankings. Like they're rankings where I'm like I don't even get mad they're so bad. Like it's one thing, it's like, oh, you think Correa's 4, I think he's 8. Let's debate, right? But it's the same kind of players that we know should be in the top 10. When you just have got like Ozzy Albies is a 30-20 guy playing good defense. What are we talking about here? Geloff hasn't proved anything. I like Geloff, right? No disrespect. I like Geloff. Stop. What does he earn?
Stop.
He had a cup of coffee.
Last note on Oakland is Mason Miller, the closer, at a 31% K rate, which is
Mason
high
Miller, closer,
and
huh?
good. Mason Miller, the closer.
Is that going to be a thing?
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit earlier this offseason. They want to see if he can get through a full season because he really hasn't had the opportunity to show that he can get through a full season. So they're going to have him close games and then maybe transition him back to a starter. It might be doing the crochet thing.
That's Yohan Duran in the bullpen. It's that stuff. I mean, how
he
is
doesn't have a splinker. The fastball
Yeah.
is that level. The fastball in 1 inning spurts can probably sit 102.
easily? He's hitting 102 in 5 inning spurts.
Sit 102.
Yeah, true. It's more 99 to 102.
No. Sit 101 to 102.
Yeah,
Top at 103.
I mean, he's just got some hammers though too. I mean, yeah, he in a closer role would be must watch,
Right.
but him in a starter role is must watch. I mean, there was a game, Mason Miller versus Bryce Miller, where they both went 5 scoreless.
It was a ton
I
of
was
fun.
like, both of these guys are going to win the Cy Young. I don't like it was like a day game in August, but
it was
those two going
fastballs
against each other.
galore.
Oh yeah, none of the hitters in any lineup had a chance.
No, it was great. It was flick the glove, both of them just go for a while. Seattle, couple takeaways offensively. J-Rod, 32 homers, 34 bags, a 5.1 WAR. He's the guy, man.
Yeah,
I saw the rumblings. They can't have him as the MLB The Show cover athlete because he was on Tap Sports Baseball last year, and you need to wait 3 years before you're on another game. So J-Rod can't be on this year or next year.
That's stupid.
He's the easiest cover athlete we've like ever had.
Literally. One thing I wanted to touch on was his 20th percentile outcome. 3.2 F4. It's like, like that's so good. That seems disrespectful. 20th percentile outcome is like a 4-win season for J-Rod. Right? I mean, 5.4 as a rookie in 2022, 5.9 last year. He ain't dropping 2 wins. I don't care what happens to him. Might be playing with one leg. Might have a peg leg, like in Pirates of the Caribbean. He ain't putting up a 3.2 F4 unless something horrific happens. Unless it's a games played thing. But they're projecting out over, 100 and whatever games. If he's just on the field and sucking, he's just accumulating WAR. He's too good at everything. I thought the 20th percentile was even low for him. What are your thoughts?
So I can't find WAR splits. I could probably do it in terms of a date range, but first half WRC plus for Julio Rodriguez was only 103. Second half was 156. We saw, I think, the 20th percentile of Julio Rodriguez pre-All-Star break. It took a 2-week push to get him into the All-Star game. He was not an All-Star 2 weeks before the actual
I know,
game.
but like that ain't happening for a full year.
Exactly. My other thing is, if that's the 20th percentile, we're talking about a guy that we're trying to shove into the All-Star game. Like, hey, you know what? He's fringy. He's probably a snub, understandably so. We're talking about the 20th percentile being a fringe All-Star.
Yeah.
And a fringe All-Star is a 4-win player.
Like 20th percentile outcome stinks.
And he, relatively speaking, stunk in the first half before that 2-week stretch.
He will probably be my MVP pick in 2024. He's just different.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go Geloff, but I understand.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Jonathan Clase projected 38 bags if he does play.
I saw that.
Should be interesting.
That.
Jonathan Clase, probably top 10 prospect in the Mariners system. They had a really good draft. Colt Emerson is probably ahead of him. Ty Pete might be ahead of him. It's probably Clase ahead of him. Clase was a fiend on the base paths in the minor leagues. He played in the futures game. He doesn't have a spot this year on this team, but hypothetically, if he were to play the entire year, he probably swipes 40 bags. He's got game-changing speed. Question is, can he be ready for big league pitching in 2024? Answer is, I don't know, probably not.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you intentionally walked him 40 times, he's going to be on base. But like, can he get on base enough to steal 40 bags?
Yeah, the Billy Hamilton conversation. Can he get on base enough to be valuable? Because if Billy got on base at a 350 clip, he was an $100 million player at some point. Problem is he wasn't getting on base like that.
Yep.
One more takeaway on Seattle's front. They love their pitching staff. Love them. And Luis Castillo is a bona fide ace in ZIPS eyes.
Yeah, he is certainly knocking on the door.
He's a projected 3.27 ERA in about 180 innings. Castillo 3.27, Kirby 3.48, Gilbert 3.50, Bryce Miller 3.88, Brian Wu 4.11.
I'm surprised they have that big of a difference between Wu and Miller. I'd put them very close together.
Very close. I'd put them both right around 4.
They both have similar issues with lefties, and that's why we see them both in the offseason developing these pitches to get out lefties.
Fastball reliance.
Yeah.
If they have 4 starting pitchers under 4 and a 5th in the very low 4s, how can you not flirt with the idea of them winning the American League West?
That's exactly what we did last year, and look what happened. Like, we saw it.
I know, but we didn't even know who Miller and Wu were at the beginning of the year.
We knew who Bryce Miller was. We were talking about how they had all these great pitching prospects that were going to come up. We didn't know exactly who they were. We were like, was it Emerson Hancock? But the idea of that they had reinforcements on the way was a big selling point to the Mariners, was that if any of these guys go down, they can pull up guys, which they did. The problem is guys like Ty France, when you see his ZIPS projection, like still can't hit. Even though I know he's been at Driveline, he's grinding, and I still believe in him. But it's like, if only J.P. Crawford and Julio Rodriguez are hitting for you in the lineup, you start to not know how to score runs. And it's, again, the same thing I'm worried about with the Mariners. They lost a lot of 2-1 games last year. Like, pitching is only so good, you have to hit. And like this team, until proven otherwise, right? No Eugenio Suarez anymore. No Teoscar Hernandez. It's not like they have a lot of reinforcements there offensively. So it's like, yeah, the pitching is great. But like what? Let's say Bryce Miller goes 6 innings, 2 runs. The Mariners might not score. That's my issue with them this year. And something I didn't account for enough last year. And I'm seeing the same problem surface again.
One more team, the Texas Rangers. My only takeaway here has to do with Wyatt Langford.
My only takeaway too, and Evan Carter. So you know how I wanted to unload on Junior Caminero to win the Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter are in the competition.
Yes, they are.
Like,
and they're probably going to take votes away from each other.
I know. They're all so good. Wyatt Langford. I said it coming out of the draft. Langford, little squiggly, Cruz. This guy, he's going to hit, and he's going to hit. And it's just, if you're a Rangers fan, I'm trying to get in the mode of one. We just won the World Series, and we saw Evan Carter hitting third. And I'm looking at a ZIPS projection of a rookie coming up who's even better than Evan Carter.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm a Rangers fan, I'm so giddy. Like, I'm just giggling all the time.
Langford's projections, 24 homers, 98 driven in. This is if he plays a full season. 24 homers, 98 RBIs, a 2.5 win player with a 122 OPS plus, 18 stolen bases to boot. That's totally attainable.
I love how sometimes on this podcast we look at each other, we're just like oh shit. We don't even say
totally
anything.
attainable.
So if you're listening on audio and you're not listening on YouTube, that's what we're doing. We're just gritting and looking at each other when you hear that pause. But the YouTube people can see it.
Might be kind of real.
I mean, who's your Rookie of the Year pick right now? What are you feeling?
Langford.
Me too.
If he gets enough run, I think he will. It. Yeah, so could Caminero.
So could Caminero.
I think Langford. There's so much protection in that lineup. And there's a chance he's...
Where's Langford going to hit 6th? He might hit 3rd.
Yeah, shit. We watched Robbie Grossman hit 3rd.
Just unbelievable. No, I mean, imagine they could go Simeon.
How about you got Adolis in right, Carter in center, Langford in left.
Say goodnight. And then you got Seager and Semien up the middle with Josh Young, who we aren't even talking about, who's also a truck. Nathaniel Lowe, Jonah Heim.
It's a perfect offense.
I mean, it doesn't really get much better. I mean,
you got Carter in left, Leote in center, and Langford is the DH. Sure.
Why not? Jeez, they're good. Oh, they're really good again.
They're damn good.
They need some pitching though. Losing Monty sucks. They need pitching.
Gaining Malley's solid. Have they lost Monty yet? I don't think they've lost Monty.
They have not lost Monty yet. They're not going to get Malley this year.
Till the break.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. They are getting Malley, who I do like. They're going to be really good again. Chet.
Really good.
Everyone watch out. Windows open.
What I got for you, man.
That's what I got for you, too. Yeah, I just wanted to mention Evan Carter, 3.8, 80th percentile outcome. Langford, 4.3.
Yeah.
Like more upside than him. Carter's got a higher floor, though, probably. I mean, Langford is like the wouldn't you say that the Texas Rangers have a gunner, Henderson, in Wyatt Langford in that way? I know he's a shortstop, corner outfielder, not the same, but like,
yeah, they do.
Type of guy.
I know what you're saying. Like, hey, top 5 prospect overall in baseball, 1 or 2 probably. Langford is consensus top 5 coming into the year, I think. If they have him outside the top 5 based on what he did in pro ball last year on the heels of his college season, that outlet I think is smoking something. But I do see what you're saying where it is immediate plug and play. I think Langford's impact is actually closer to Carroll than it is to Gunnar because Gunnar had that slow start. Carroll, it was plug and play. You're getting a really good player right away with the chance to be a great player.
Same
and I think that's what Langford is.
Langford played center. Thinking about center field in Florida.
Center. And he can he can jump to a corner.
He can jump to a corner too. He's got a ton of speed and just so much pop in the bat. He is going to be. I can't wait. Good episode.
One more note before we say adios. I know that the Hall of Fame announcement is coming or it came last night, coming on Tuesday evening. We're recording before the Hall of Fame announcement. We'll hit on those new Hall of Famers on the Friday show.
Yes, sir. And that's the episode of the Just Baseball Show here, folks. Really appreciate everybody listening again. We will see you on Friday. Go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. You can find it in the episode description. For all those watching on YouTube, hit that big red subscribe button. Come on, it's free. And comment more things that you want to hear from the show. We read all the comments. We really, really appreciate everybody leaving them. And if you're listening on audio, greatly appreciate you leaving a 5-star review, whether that be on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your pods. That's Jack. I'm Peter. Again, we'll be back on Friday. And with that, thank you, everybody.